Check, 1, 2.
John
Wilson.
John Erickson.
Wilson.
Erickson. John Mountain Dog Erickson. Mountain Dog John Erickson.
Wilson, do you copy? Yep. My name is John Erickson, and I'm here in Portland, Oregon at Cat's Paw Saloon for the second Postcards and Polaroids photo art show with my pal Andy Pitts here.
I'm Andy Pitts, and I'm John's better half.
Anytime we go somewhere, Andy would make a postcard, and I would bring a Polaroid camera, or 2 or 3, and take photos throughout the trip. And usually, by the end of the trip, there'd be a table within the Airbnb somewhere that we just had Polaroid photos kind of stacked around. And the actual conception of the show was in France.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah, on a trip.
Probably over a couple beers, we were just talking about, like, man, we're both doing these things that are centered around trips, and wouldn't it be rad to have a show that kind of highlights both of our takes on travel?
So we were in New Orleans last year for the Photo NOLA exhibition, and I think just got really inspired out there to do more with the show. Before we even really had any concept of what the hell we were going to do, we were able to dial in a gallery for this year's Photo NOLA.
So our first stop was Los Angeles, Portland, and then we've got a handful of cities coming up. We've got Boston, Chicago, Seattle,
San Francisco,
Long Beach,
Austin.
Yeah, basically just gonna ping pong around the U.S. month by month. I've always drawn. I've always made stuff, and the marriage of art and skateboarding just came together for me a long time ago, just on a personal level, making stickers for the crew and shirts for the crew, and just creating art for anyone I knew that was involved in my skateboarding world. Within the world of skateboarding, I was always kind of just married together, and it progressed right up to today, which is the current state of still doing the same thing, making art for skateboards and for people that are in my world and for things that I think are cool.
So I grew up taking a lot of photos. My mom's always been into photography.
Really?
Yeah,
That's rad.
She still is to this day. She shoots a ton of digital stuff. When I was in high school, I was a TA in a photography class and had this just an amazing teacher, and we had a dark room and everything. I think it was, I don't know, I randomly got a Polaroid camera, a small Fuji film camera, and just had fun with it.
There's a beautiful thing that happens on the road trips that we take is John will shoot just tons of photos and just lay them out throughout the trip as the days progress. There'll always be a table or something, and you can kind of go back through them, and you see the final product of the ones on the wall or your favorites, but there's this unpredictability to shooting Polaroids that is just so charming within it. It's so rad. And seeing all of those and then being that's the one.
Overall, I have probably about 150 plus Polaroid cameras, every style you could possibly have. Some of them that I've never shot with because the film is very expensive, but for the most part I've shot with all of them, or at least make sure they work. I pick them up at swap meets. Any and all Polaroid cameras could be my favorite, but at the same time, SX70 is the best.
The first one that I made, I believe, was for Portland, actually, in a kind of a totally coincidentally organic scenario. I just knew I was coming up to Portland, and I was I'm gonna make a little thing, create an exercise for myself in design that is, no one has any other say in it. I'm just gonna make this little thing. It was just a simple little rose, and it said, "Hello, Portland." And I dug it, and I got really hyped on the idea of I could do this anytime I travel. So the Portland Rose was a catalyst for me to do it every trip that I took.
One place that I've never been that I've been dying to go forever, I cannot wait to go there and just spend a few days taking photos, is Ireland. Castles, I'm infatuated with castles, and I love taking photos that are black and white or sepia, and you never know if a photo is going to turn out kind of a true black and white or a sepia. It just depends on the temperature of the day, the film, what have you. But I cannot wait to go take castle photos.
What kind of trip were we taking? Shenzhen was like an amazing skateboard trip because there was so much perfect skate stuff, and it felt like you were discovering it. There was that sense of, wow, this is new, and like we're the first people to roll on this spot, or other people have skated here, but it's kind of unbelievable that it's an actually non-skate spot that is still out there in the world.
If you happen to get the photo back home and actually like it and want to do more with it, for all of these I use Icon out of Los Angeles, and can take about 2 to 3 weeks to get the scan and get the print. There's so much more behind that, and just deciding, like, are you going to invest into this photo, so to speak. I recently ran into somebody, I can't remember who, and they were asking about the show and everything, and they're like, man, it's crazy. Andy said that he keeps all of those postcard graphics down to a minimum of 1 hour, and that's it.
Yeah. I give myself that. Some of them go longer, but you know, some are less for sure. Some are like goes into an hour and a half. But that's my goal for each one of them, is to not take too much time. I know the style has developed of like, this is how they look, and like generally this is the vibe I'm trying to give off. Like, learn a little about the city, and then I'm always kind of churning in advance for like what the next one's going to be. I'm going to Moab in next month, and it's like, what's Moab going to be? It sits in my mind, and then like it'll just click, and I'll be like, oh, got it. And then take an hour, crank it out, and have it ready for that trip.
Well, dude, it's been fun. The show is about to start, and it's going to be a good night, but here's to another, dude.